It's intriguing how people can misjudge the consequences of their behavior. I go by the name Ryan, and a suitable description for me would be someone who is affectionate and generally courteous, consistently endeavoring to fulfill my wife's desires. It took me 2 marriages to understand that being reserved and dedicating oneself entirely to the person one loves can lead to disdain and disrespect. I vow not to let this happen again. These self-entitled women believe they can perform clandestine actions without their partners finding out, assuming that as long as they remain undetected, everything is fine. They attempt to conceal their guilt in various ways until they are eventually discovered. Then, they express remorse and assert that they didn't want their spouse to discover and be hurt. Do they even listen to themselves speak? What are we supposed to think when they claim they never intended for us to uncover their actions? It seems like they're admitting to doing something behind our backs and are only sorry they got caught. Such an admission is rather insulting. Ryan believes these women struggle with conventional reasoning. Following the termination of toxic relationships, Ryan and Sandy crossed paths. Billy, Sandy's former partner, abandoned her for a younger, more alluring woman, leaving her devastated and struggling with self-worth. Her lingering feelings for Billy were something that occasionally concerned Ryan. Ryan, being 6 years older, had been married for 5 years to an enchanting, manipulative woman who captivated him. Deeply in love, he anticipated spending his life with Charlotte. However, she engaged in infidelity while he was utterly smitten, a fact he discovered a year later, causing significant pain. He departed from her and vowed to avoid such circumstances in the future. Trust became a challenge for Ryan in any future relationships, a reality both he and Sandy acknowledged about each other's past issues. Sandy tackled her self-esteem struggles, exerting effort to enhance her physique and appearance. She spent her spare moments shopping for fresh attire, frequented beauty salons extensively, and played tennis. With my encouragement, she morphed into a self-assured, appealing lady. Reciprocally, understanding my past, Sandy assisted me in overcoming my self-doubt. She consistently reminded me of her undying affection for me and how lucky she felt to have discovered me. Daily, she voiced her love and catered to all my wishes. Our lifestyle remained lively, and we exercised together at least 4 times a week. We continued to exchange kisses and hugs on the couch, and our affection for each other stayed robust. Discussions about having children even started. We felt like soulmates. Life appeared fantastic. However, a week following our 6th anniversary celebration, my life underwent an unforeseen change. On a recent weekday morning, I observed my wife adorning an unfamiliar dress via our home surveillance system, which I occasionally check when work boredom sets in. Typically, such mornings are uneventful, but this time my curiosity was piqued. My beloved wife appeared in a captivating, short, red dress and towering heels on the live feed. Her hair was immaculate, and her makeup was impeccable in appearance I hadn't seen in years. This sudden change made me feel uneasy. To clarify, my observation wasn't clandestine. It was simply a habit of mine to check up on our pet dog Brandy, a Dachshund, during stressful workdays as a bond broker. Consequently, I decided to call her and inquire about her plans for the day. "Hi, darling, just thinking about you. How's your day going? Tennis today?" Today is free of plans due to Kara's injured ankle canceling our tennis game. I might go to the gym instead and propose meeting for lunch, but she declined, opting for a protein shake there instead. She promised to see me tonight and expressed love. However, her failure to reciprocate the usual "I love you" at parting and my suspicion that she was dishonest about something have left me puzzled and concerned. Despite our long relationship, I occasionally monitor Sandy's car location with a GPS tracker. At first, I set it up for safety reasons, but unfortunately, I now found myself using it to monitor my wife's movements. Immediately after ending the call, I left my office, jumped into my car, and switched on her tracker. She was heading towards downtown, so I pursued her in that direction. Since my workplace was near downtown, I caught up with her within 15 minutes. Upon seeing her enter a parking garage, I parked on the street and waited by the exit for her to emerge. 5 minutes later, there she was, my wife, clad in high heels and a dress, making her way towards Fellini's, a swanky eatery. I stood there, my stomach knotted with anxiety, fearing I was being duped by another woman. When I noticed her waving to a man outside the restaurant, I realized I was in hot water. I moved closer, trying to remain hidden, and witnessed him greeting her with a kiss. They exchanged a few words, and he took her hand as they entered the restaurant. I swiftly crossed the street and peeked through the window. Standing before the hostess, their arms entwined, I observed Sandy tenderly resting against his shoulder. Emotions welled within me, first tears, then fury. I wiped my eyes, pulled out my phone, and began snapping photos through the window. It was during this act that I caught him turning to Sandy for a passionate kiss. I managed to photograph the moment as she reciprocated with an equally fervent kiss. The agony in my heart and the rage in my mind propelled me toward a grim path. Unable to determine a course of action before they were led to their table, I felt my blood pressure rise when I recognized the man as Billy, her ex-boyfriend, the one who had shattered her heart and inflicted so much pain on her. She was aware of my disdain for him and understood my demand that she avoid contact with him. Her actions appeared to disregard my wishes. Overwhelmed by rage when I discovered that within an hour she had lied to me, dressed in a seductive manner to meet her ex, passionately kissed him, and was spending the entire day with him, such disrespect and humiliation were intolerable. My previous promise post-divorce prevented me from showing patience towards such treatment. It was clear that it was over, and I had to hear more falsehoods and excuses from my soon-to-be ex-wife. Still simmering with anger, I returned to the office, spending the rest of the day at my desk, struggling to comprehend how this could happen again. After 5 hours of self-pity, I went home, already strategizing my next step. I wondered if she would confess about her actions or continue to deceive me, which would facilitate my decision. With immense effort, I suppressed my anger and went home to confront the end of my marriage. Upon returning home, tears filled my eyes as I grieved over the loss of the woman I admired and cared for deeply. Sandy was preparing a delightful meal, her attire elegant, and exhibiting affectionate behavior towards me. Upon entering the kitchen, she greeted me with a tender kiss and expressed how much she had missed me. Her actions struck me as those of a guilty lover attempting to make amends through increased affection that had been absent for the past 6 months. Despite my efforts to act casual, it was evident I failed. When she inquired, "Dear, are you all right? Has something happened?" I poured a generous measure of Mr. Daniels, feigned a smile, and tried to relax as I replied, "I'm fine. It's just been a hectic day. Let me freshen up for dinner, and I'll be down soon." In the bedroom, I changed my attire, sipped my drink, and allowed it to soothe my frayed nerves. After gathering myself, I descended to the kitchen and discovered my lovely wife in good spirits, with dinner prepared on the table. She appeared content following her day spent with her boyfriend. We sat side by side, and I initiated discourse. "This meal is delightful, Sandy, and you look radiant today." "Thanks. I adore you, sweetheart, and enjoy cooking for you," she responded, smiling contentedly. We were ensconced in an awkward silence for a few moments. As we dined, I observed Sandy casting frequent glances my way, wondering what was troubling me. Was she feeling guilty? Was she about to reveal the truth of her day's activities? I was soon to learn the answers in the coming minutes. "So, tell me about your day and what you got up to," I inquired, endeavoring to maintain a non-confrontational tone. "Well, following our conversation, I went to the gym for a couple of hours, had a protein bar, then returned home to cook dinner for you. It was an uneventful day overall," she explained. Looking at my expression and the tears in my eyes, she swiftly lowered her gaze towards her plate. In a soft voice, I queried, "So, Sandy, how do you suggest we manage this predicament? Should we engage lawyers initially, or would counseling be more appropriate? What are you referring to, love?" "I'm discussing divorce naturally," she responded. "Stop pretending ignorance." "What do you mean?" "I am alluding to the termination of our marriage, divorce, separation, figuring out a way to proceed with it while maintaining friendship," I clarified. "I don't comprehend. Why do you want a divorce?" "Really?" I inquired. She seemed confused. Her hands fidgeted with her glass, and she avoided meeting my gaze. After several moments of silence, she queried, "Did you follow me tonight?" "No," I lied, although I understood it was irrelevant. But for some reason, I didn't want her to know the truth. "Why are you asking if I trailed you? Are there any issues I should be conscious of?" Her bewilderment was evident, and she seemed at a loss for words, filled with deceivers, vehemently denying everything. As anticipated, she maintained that nothing was amiss and expressed confusion about the situation. "Why are you mentioning divorce while sporting such a sad expression?" I fixed my gaze on her, hoping for honesty. After a lengthy pause, I responded, "Allow me to demonstrate what's been troubling me, Sandy." I unlocked my phone, revealing a photo of her and Billy locked in a kiss outside the restaurant. The picture could be interpreted as a friendly greeting. I decided not to disclose the other images until hearing more of her explanations. Her jaw dropped, and tears filled her eyes. She began offering excuses, of course. "Dear, I can clarify, it was just a friendly kiss. Nothing else happened. How did you obtain this photo? So, how has Billy been lately? Let me explain how I got this picture, my love. While leaving a tech shop, I spotted you entering a restaurant, arm in arm with someone. I crossed the street to confirm it was indeed you, and there you were, embraced by another man. Initially, I doubted it was you, but my doubts proved wrong. It was indeed you. My next thought was, why is she dressing so seductively? She hasn't dressed like that for me in a while. Then it struck me, you were with Billy. All became clear. I captured some photos just as you leaned in to kiss him, which resulted in this picture. In the following photo I showed her, she had her arms around his neck and her skirt had risen, exposing her backside. You looked stunning in that dress, and your hair and makeup were flawless. Were you heading for a modeling gig, or perhaps taking up modeling? Could you clarify why you chose to dress so provocatively for him? I can't seem to remember the last occasion when you wore something so captivating before me. Her hands shielded her face as tears fell, while I remained fixed on her, awaiting an explanation. When she chose silence, I proceeded. The camera on my newest 22 phone is extraordinary, offering remarkable zoom abilities. Let me demonstrate this, I said, inching closer to her left arm, entwined with Billy's neck. I magnified her ring finger, now devoid of wedding rings, and projected the image before her eyes. "No wedding bands today. That's unusual. I can't recollect you ever removing them during our entire relationship. Today must have been significant. Now do you comprehend why I'm contemplating divorce? You misled me about your day this morning, removed your wedding rings, dressed provocatively to meet an old flame, and again misled me just now. You're seated here lying to my face, telling me that you went to the gym today and had nothing for lunch. You wore clothes meant for an old flame and spent the day with him as I labored to better our lives. You breached your vow not to revisit that person again. You kissed and flirted openly with another man in public. You deceived me, making a fool of me and consistently lying. Whether you were intimate with him tonight or not, it's irrelevant. In my eyes, any words from you will be falsehoods. But your actions have demonstrated that you can't uphold commitments and manipulate the truth. It appears to me that these transgressions provide a strong basis for divorce, and I believe you understand this. Sandy felt deeply unsettled. The gravity of her actions hadn't struck her until now. The way Ryan phrased it made her feel as though she had been unfaithful, a thought that never crossed her mind previously. Previously, she considered it harmless banter and flirting, nothing serious. However, for the first time since Billy initiated their interaction, she acknowledged that it had transformed into an emotional bond and could be perceived as infidelity, not physically, but emotionally. She wept, understanding that if roles were reversed, she would react similarly. "What have I done?" she pondered. Her heart ached, and she felt nauseous due to the pain she had inflicted on her husband. She was determined to reach Ryan and salvage their marriage. "Ryan, you need to trust me." Nothing transpired. We parted ways after dinner, but please believe me. Nothing occurred. It was simply lunch, she said, weeping and seeking a way out. I comprehend now how it appears, and if the situation were reversed, I'd feel exactly as you do now. I'm sorry. Can you find it in your heart to forgive my folly? It's more than just folly. Ryan, dear, why did you act as if we were no longer married by going out with your former lover, someone we both promised to keep at arm's length? Could you clarify why you chose to dress in that manner without your wedding rings and engage in physical affection like hand holding and kissing? Can you explain the repeated lies I had to confront? Darling, does our marriage hold no significance for you? I assume if our roles were reversed, you'd feel quite differently. Ryan, love, can we avoid the breakdown of our marriage due to this incident? There was nothing more than a lunch meeting with an old friend who happened to be in town. I acknowledge that I should not have attended, considering your jealousy. Our past is long and complex. I thought after all these years, one casual lunch wouldn't cause much trouble. Perhaps I dressed up to show him the life he left behind. When we parted ways, I felt a need to express what he had forfeited and how content I am without him. Remembering how he abandoned me still stings, and I sought some form of retribution. It's akin to meeting or parting with an acquaintance. Believe me, I have no intention of involving him. Dear one, can we resolve this? I'll comply with whatever you desire. Honestly, that doesn't hold any significance. You'll do anything I ask, right? Hearing there was a possibility to salvage the marriage, she smiled, eager for instructions, and replied, "Yes, absolutely. I'll do as you say, dear." "Very well, Sandy, I grant you one chance, just one chance. I have one condition. Show me your phone." "Why?" She looked at me confused. "Well, if it means nothing, then show me your phone. I want to check if there are any messages between the two of you and what you've been exchanging." "No, you don't need to see that," she said, her eyes dropping to the floor. She realized that if I accessed those messages, it would bring me distress and expose secrets she wished to conceal. That was my intention. So, let's revisit the original question. How should we proceed? Tears filled her eyes as she begged for pardon, swearing never to repeat her misdeeds. Her words stirred up agonizing recollections of my first marriage. I was stunned to find myself reliving that ordeal. This time, I refused to tolerate the deceit and let it persist. "Hold on, please, just hold on. Ryan, if you take this phone, will you grant me another opportunity? You have to understand that I love you, and I've never been unfaithful to you before. I may have become ensnared in a foolish online affair, indeed, with my former lover, but I was behaving recklessly like a young girl. The flattery and compliments were flattering, and they boosted my self-esteem. I realize how immature that sounds. If you take this phone, can you give me another chance?" "I cannot do that, Sandy, but I promise you, if you don't hand me the phone, our relationship will end." Next action involves contacting attorney Mark Wilson to draft the divorce documents this week. Can we proceed? I value openness and transparency like you do. My predicament is avoiding harm whenever possible. However, I've come to understand that deception is more hurtful. Honesty and transparency could have saved our marriage, but honesty was lacking until there were no other options. Your refusal to share text messages until you had no choice solidified your actions' consequences. As tears rolled down her face, she acknowledged the messages exposed her dishonesty and lack of trust. She knew I wouldn't tolerate it and eventually understood that her emotional affair with another man was just as damaging as a physical one. She promised never to repeat such a mistake. Regrettably, our once joyful marriage is now over. 3 months post our divorce, the divorce decree became final. Our shared house was sold, possessions divided, and we parted amicably without any intention to reconcile. The remnants were the ashes of a once blissful union, extinguished by deception, falsehoods, and eroded trust. I ventured into dating but twice burned. Marriage was no longer an option for me. Meanwhile, Sandy found solace in Billy. 2 months later, she discovered she was pregnant. Upon this revelation, Billy deserted her, urging her to manage the situation herself since he wasn't prepared for parenthood. The following day, Billy disappeared, leaving behind a distraught Sandy with their newborn. According to Debbie, Sandy's spirit wilted after this incident. Her self-worth was pulverized yet again, plunging her into an unyielding depression, which deepened when she tragically lost the baby due to a fall down the stairs in her apartment. Her life plummeted from a blissful state to an unendurable nightmare, mainly due to her self-absorption and greed. Unable to pardon herself for shattering our content bliss, she lost my affection, esteem, trust, fidelity, and regard. Violate one, and you lose them all.